So as we get into things tonight, we only really have one story, which is the Game Awards. Admittedly, I've broken it up into multiple parts. We have the winners, the announcements, and the other. But that's really it. I haven't been playing that. I've got some video game stuff, but not much. All just minor guff. And then I've got one TV show thing. But this is... I mean, yes, the Game Awards are a big news story. That, of course... Give me a second. I just noticed a problem. I need to do something about that. Whatever. We have that one problem, and that's about it. That's like our one big thing, or our one big story. And other than that, you know, I kind of feel like there's a part of it that's like, oh yeah, we're just in holding pattern. Like, yeah, we got our one big news story, but outside of that, nothing else is really going to happen. And then next week, there's going to be even less, because we're post-Game Award season. And spoiler alert, nothing ever happens post-Game Awards. Nothing ever has happened, nothing ever will happen. So, yeah. Now, luckily, the week after that, we've got Game of the Year, and everything that goes along with that. But we just kind of got to get through this week, got to get through next week. It should be fine. It should all be fine in the end. We're working on Galaxy still, or Galaxy 2. We've got 2 more worlds. We've got the 2 worlds we're doing today, 5 and 6. And then I think after that, we've only got like 1 or 2 more worlds. I know we have 1 or 2 more worlds. I think it's actually only 1. And then we have the final challenge, Champions Gauntlet, Ultimate Challenge. I admittedly don't remember what the last level of Galaxy 2 is. But I've heard it's not that bad. Because I think of like the Champions Road in Super Mario 3D World. I have never actually beaten that level. For as many times, like I've 100%ed 3D, or I guess 99%ed 3D World multiple times, characters excluded. And the one thing I've never done is Champions Road. I've just never been actually able to beat it. I've done it in basically every other Mario game, but I've never actually even tried the Galaxy one, because we've never gotten all the green stars. So who knows how long if that's going to take, if we're going to even be able to beat it at all. Ooh, this may be another Silk Song thing. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. So I guess let me boot up the game and let's get into it, shall we? Alright, getting it started. Let me switch it over. Alright, there we are. So, I guess let's just get into it. So for gaming news, we just have one story, the Game Awards. Now, admittedly, within that story, there are a bunch of things. There are a bunch of small... You know, we have the actual awards part of the Game Awards, which is the thing we'll talk about first. But then we've also got all the announcements, of which there were a bunch of. And then I put an other category of just, you know, other things that happened during the Game Awards that I didn't really, you know, have another place. Like, I'm sure I could have put them in either winners or announcements, but I just kind of threw them into this nebulous other category. One of them is definitely a winner, but I couldn't remember where it happened in the show, so I didn't put it in there. I should say, for the Game Awards, I did not watch the Game Awards live. I was busy, as I am most years. So I didn't actually see the Game Awards live. At least not all the way. I started watching them. I got like, because the other thing is, I didn't actually, like, watch the main feed. I watched Kinda Funny, as I have, you know, some of the past few years. The Game Awards themselves are very much a show where you have to create your own fun. And part of that is that the show itself isn't actually that fun. So I think it's best to watch somebody else watch it. Because this is going to sound very parasocial, but part of enjoyment you can get from the Game Awards is, you know, if you can't watch it with, you know, your buddies, you can watch it with YouTubers or streamers. And you'll have a much better time unless the people you're watching are a bunch of curmudgeons or assholes. Like, if you're... Kinda Funny has always been perfect for me, because they watch it. Sure, they get very excited for a lot of things, but that's fun. I know on the internet excitement is illegal, but I think it's okay to be excited for things. I quite enjoy it, actually. And so, yeah, seeing them do it, yeah, of course I'm going to have fun with that. So, I started watching the pre-show with them. I got up until... I stopped watching after the... not KOTOR, Fate of the Old Republic announcement. I got through that one. I maybe saw, like, the next thing. Like, I maybe saw the start of the Divinity announcement. And that's kind of when I turned it off. Because, you know, I had other things to do. And then I came back later that night and watched their VOD of them reacting to it. So I have seen the whole show. I saw the whole Game Awards. But yeah, I didn't watch it on my own. I didn't watch it live. Nothing actually got spoiled for me, surprisingly. Like, I remember the year the Xbox Series X got announced, and it was just like, oh my god, people were freaking out on Twitter about that. Kind of, it was also kind of just underwhelming. But regardless, I didn't actually get anything spoiled for me, which was nice. So, of course, you know, was there much to spoil? Well, we can talk about it. But yeah, I think the best way... I guess I will say at the top, I had a good time watching the Game Awards. I do not think this show is as good as last year's. Last year's Game Awards, I thought were actually pretty good. I thought it was Jeff's best showing yet. This year... There are some people who are very negative on it. I mean, the title of this episode is the Expedition 33 Awards. We'll get to it, but I know a lot of people are upset by how many times Expedition 33 won. I'm not really. I'm fine. I know a lot of people are disappointed by the announcements. And yeah, some of it is underwhelming, definitely. But I think there's some good things in there. There are some things that have potential. Admittedly, going back through and, like, writing everything down, there's less than I thought I liked. Like, when I was watching it with them last night, I was like, oh yeah, you know, there was a few things. And then going back through everything earlier today, I was like, okay, there's not actually as many as I thought there was gonna be. But we still have a few things. At the time, like, right after watching the show, if you had asked me to give it a score, I probably would have said like an 8. Because I think I gave last year's show like a 9. For what the Game Awards can... Because here's the thing. The Game Awards... All awards shows suck. All awards shows don't matter. You have to make your own fun. And when it came to the Game Awards last year, I had a lot of fun. I had a good time making my own fun. This year, you know, watching it along with Kinda Funny... Yeah, I had a good time. Is that maybe more on them than it is on the Game Awards? Potentially. Totally. But I'm not going to rule it out. That, you know, it wasn't that Jeff had nothing. Looking back through all the announcements of the next day, I'm definitely a little bit more negative on it. I'm probably closer to a 7 now. I don't do 0.5 scores. It would probably be closer to like a 7.5. But I'm definitely a little lower on it today than I was yesterday. But I've also definitely seen much worse from the Game Awards. I've seen better. Again, I think last year's show was better, but last year also had better announcements. And Jeff kind of can't control that. The Game Awards, gaming as a whole will never always have perfect announcements. Some things are just out of your control, and there's nothing you can do about it. I get it. But yeah, I guess somewhere's between a 7 and an 8. Probably leaning closer to that 7. But let's start off with the awards and the winners. So I did my prediction video a few weeks ago. I went back, I didn't write down my predictions based on what I said in the video. I just wrote down my predictions based on what I had voted for. Because, I did my predictions looking at the voting screen. So I've got those. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to read off my prediction and then what actually won. I'm going to be honest, I did awful this year. Some years I do okay. I don't think I've ever done higher than 20 out of, I think I predict 20, there are 27 awards that I predict on. There's technically more than that. I think there's actually 29. Of the 29 awards, I only predict 27 of them, usually. And I don't think I've ever gotten above 20 out of 27. This year, I did awful. I did truly awful this year. Some of it was that I didn't put enough faith into Expedition 33. Some of it was I wanted, things to be a little more balanced. Some things I just didn't know where we stood on these. Because, there's a lot of games. I've played more games this year than I have in the past 2 years, because I keep a track of how many games I play, and now that I'm doing all my Game of the Year stuff, I've played a lot of games this year. 80% of them all released at least 10 years ago. I'm mostly, Galaxy 2 here, I've mostly been playing older games this year. So I'm not entirely in the loop. I knew Expedition 33 was going to do well, but I think even in my predictions, I gave it 2 less awards than it actually ended up winning. Or maybe 3. Except for the one that it did actually lose. So let's just get into it, shall we? So the first thing I do is I don't care about esports event. I don't care about esports team, esports player. None of that means anything to me. But I did predict esports game. My prediction was League of Legends. The actual winner ended up being Counter-Strike 2. Yeah, there's a certain thing where I feel like every year it's always the same games. And I just don't care. But hey, that's how it worked out. For Content Creator of the Year, my prediction had been Kai Cenat. I voted Kai Cenat. I also could have seen it being iShowSpeed. Both of them had massive years this year. And it ended up going to Moist Critical, who you can go on YouTube or Twitter or any of those other places and watch his reaction. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. But that's the fun of it. Don't remember who won last year. But yeah, I'm not. The thing is, I'm not a fan of any of these people. Of the 5 that they had nominated, I had maybe heard of 3 of them. Which, to be fair, that's more than some years. I literally have maybe heard of 1. That's usually the average. This year, knowing Speed, knowing Moist, knowing Kai Cenat, I was better than most, but still. I was better, than average. But yeah, so I got that one wrong. Most anticipated game, guess what? GTA 6. Of course it was GTA 6. No shit, no surprise it won. I should pull up my predictions for last. I specifically want to know what won last year. Okay, last year I did. Guess what? Guess what won this award last year? GTA 6. Guess what's gonna win this award next year? GTA 6. Because that's the thing about GTA 6. I fully expect sometime between March and May, Rockstar is going to come out and delay the game until May of 27. And maybe that release date will actually stick. The current November release date, I do not expect to be the actual release date. There's no way it doesn't get delayed at least one more time. I'm just going to call that right now. And so fully next year, I expect Grand Theft Auto 6 to be up for this exact same award. And to basically have the exact same response, and it's going to win it again. Same thing with The Witcher 4. I fully expect The Witcher 4 to be nominated next year, and also it's going to win, or, you know, it's going to lose again next year. Because that's not coming out next year either. I know there was another thing that was nominated that also probably won't come out, but that's just the nature of this thing. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 ain't coming out next year. Fully expect that. Best adaptation, I had predicted the Minecraft movie. I didn't expect it to win. Admittedly, I didn't like any of the choices for best adaptation, because the actual best adaptation, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, didn't get nominated. So I just said the Minecraft movie. It was The Last of Us Season 2. That's definitely the better product, but I know The Last of Us Season 2 was divisive. As divisive as the game, admittedly, there's always that little myriad of controversy in there, but it makes sense. I get it. I don't know, I've heard that Devil May Cry show is good. I think I said that last time as well. I've heard it's good. I don't know, I haven't seen it. They announced Season 2. We'll talk about it later. Next up was Best Multiplayer Game. The one I wanted was Peak. I think Peak is maybe the best friend slop game out there. Because friend slop was the word this year. Friend slop was everywheres. And I think Peak is one of the best. The only other one that I think it gets close to it, and is probably better than it, let's be honest, is maybe Among Us. Among Us is also very good friend slop. But what Peak did for me was it took friend slop from the term and made it into a genre. Because that's how I think about the term friend slop. I don't think of it as like a negative thing, like, oh, your game's friend slop. No, I think of it as a new genre of game. That, again, technically it's been around for a while. Among Us came out years ago. But it helped define it and give it something more concrete. But I was hoping for Peak. They are doing a thing, though. I thought they were going to have an announcement at the Game Awards, because there was this whole statue thing they were doing in-game. Not at the Game Awards, but if you boot up Peak right now, they're doing a concert in the game that I think you can see until the 15th. Go check it out. It's fun. Honestly, there's this whole thing with Baby No Money, where he made a thing like, oh, if this gets 1 million likes, I'll quit music. And then it got like 3 million likes. And it was always a publicity stunt thing. Because the thing about Baby No Money is I don't actually care for his music. It's just not my style. But as a person, I actually kind of like Baby No Money. I think he's entertaining. I like his cosplay stuff. I like his drag stuff. I think that's all really good. It's just the music. It's just not my genre. But hey, you know, it's cool that they're doing it. Go check it out. Oh shit. Next up was Best Sport / Racing. There were some people who thought this was going to be Sonic. This was never going to be Sonic. I don't know how people delusioned themselves into thinking this was going to be Sonic. This ain't Sonic. Not a chance. Of course it went to Mario Kart World. That was my prediction. That's what it ended up being. Not that I think Mario Kart World is a perfect game, by any means. I have my flaws with it. But yet, out of all the nominees, I mean, what, Sonic? It was never going to be Sonic. it was never going to be Rematch. I think Rematch was a very interesting nominee. Rematch was never going to win it. The only thing that left is 2 sports slop games. That one I do mean as an insult. And neither of those were going to win. Compared to Mario Kart? Yeah, right. Next up, Best Slim Strategy. This is one I just didn't really have a good take on. I said 2 Point Museum. I don't know why I said that, honestly. Seeing the winner as Final Fantasy Tactics actually makes a lot more sense. Like, I think that is the much more logical choice. I don't know why I didn't pick that. Because I heard the game was good. I probably, even in the predictions, say it's probably going to go to Tactics, and then just voted for Museum anyways. Not a bad game from what I hear either. I don't know, I only ever played the 2 Point Campus. Did I play the medical one? I don't remember. But I know I played Campus, and Campus was fun. Next up, Best Family Game. So my prediction was Bonanza. Bonanza won. It was up against Mario Kart. And I've seen some debate. Should Bonanza have won Best Family Game over Mario Kart? Okay, this is what others have been saying. Others have been saying that when they think of family game, they think of a game that you play with your family, which would definitely be Mario Kart. Like Donkey Kong, for as good as it is very much a single-player experience. So I get that, but I think Best Family Game it's not best multiplayer, but it's a game that anybody in the family could play. I think that's the better way to look at it. It's that no matter who you are in the family, be, an 8-year-old child or an 80-year-old person, you can play Donkey Kong and have a good time. The same is true of Mario, but Donkey Kong's just the better game. That's how I interpret Best Family Game. And by those standards, I think Donkey Kong should have won. So I'm glad it did. Which does mean, spoiler alert for the Game of the Year, Nintendo had 4 nominees, up for 3 awards. They won 2 of the 3 awards they were nominated for. That's better than a bunch of other games did tonight. Because yeah, obviously they didn't win Game of the Year. But for everything else they were nominated for, they took home. That's better than a lot of other games did. Again, that doesn't mean anything, obviously, because the awards don't matter. But I saw someone who was like, oh yeah, Donkey Kong Bonanza, the first ever Nepo Baby game. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, honest to God, what does a Nepo Baby game mean? Like, if anything, you could make that argument about Expedition 33, because it's an indie game, but yet the people who worked on it all worked at Ubisoft. What the fuck does Nepo Baby? The internet fucking sucks. Again, joy is illegal on the internet. Next up is Best Fighting Game. What an awful year for fighting games. I don't know why this category was even here this year. But it was, and the winner was Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. Okay, my prediction had been 2XKO, which, if you didn't know, that was the League of Legends fighting game, which they did announce a new character for that. But, yeah, Fatal Fury won it. I don't really care. This was such a non-category to me. Like, I don't even know. They should just, if there's not enough games for a category, don't do the category. Just make up a new one. Give me a best puzzle game category that, has games like Blueprints in it. And then just give that an award instead. I'm sure, Blueprints alone justifies the existence of a best puzzle game category this year. Because that's more notable than any fighting game that came out. Best role-playing game, my prediction was Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Because a big thing for me, and this usually never happens in actuality, but I always hope that of all the Game of the Year nominees, they at least all walk away with something. So this year, I wanted Expedition 33, Silksong, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hades 2, Death Stranding 2, and Kingdom Come to all walk away with at least one award. That doesn't normally happen. Admittedly, this year, I think of those 6 games, 4 of them did. So that's better than most. But my hope was going into Best RPG. It was going to be Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Because yes, Claire Expedition 33 is also an RPG. But from what I've heard about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, that game redefined RPGs. In like hey, this is like one of the best things ever made. That for that specific genre. Whereas Clair Obscura 33 is just a really good game. Whereas Kingdom Come is like going above and beyond. I don't want to say it goes as far as like Baldur's Gate did, because I've also heard, the same revolutionary comment about that one. But I thought, it could take Best Role Playing, and Clair Obscura would take, everything else it was nominated for. No, of course it won Best RPG, and yes, I have seen the Kingdom Come Deliverance fans are mad, and you know what? I kind of get it. Because I feel like you could have walked away with this one. The next one was Best Action Adventure Game. Again, Clair Obscura wasn't nominated for this one, so I was like, it was going to be one of the big ones. That left either Silksong or Death Stranding. I know the Game Awards are fans of Kojima. I bet my money on Death Stranding 2. It went to Silksong. I'm glad Silksong won something. It was funny to see Jeff be like, hey, Silksong devs, guess what? You did win something. Sure, did you not win Best Indie Game, the category that I think you are exceptionally fit to win? No, of course you didn't win that one, sadly. But you won something. Again, awards don't actually matter, but, recognition is nice, I guess. Best Action Game, I knew was definitely going to Hades 2, though. If Silksong won Action Adventure, then Hades 2 was winning Best Action. And sure enough, it won Best Action easily. 2 awful categories every year that are just filled with games that have nothing to do with each other. But I'm actually happy with both the winners on that one. Next up, Best VR AR. I said The Midnight Walk, mainly because it was the only one I had actually heard of. Well, I guess I'd heard of Deadpool, but it's fucking Deadpool. Come on, let's be honest here. And yeah, The Midnight Walk won. I know that is not a fully VR game. Like, if you don't have VR, you can play Midnight Walk in non-VR. But it still is, they want you to play it in VR. So, I think it makes sense as a win. Best Mobile, I said Uma Musume. The horse game was huge this year. Everyone was talking about horse racing game. It was everywhere. I've seen so much cosplay. It was a shoo-in to win it. Oh, but the gacha game fans. Don't you want to know about the big gacha game this year, Withering Waves? Not really. I don't really care about... I hate these stupid fucking... Every year, there's a stupid fucking gacha anime game that wins. To be fair, Uma Musume is a gacha game. But there's a certain style to some of these gacha games. Your Genshin Impacts, your Zenless Zone Zeros, your Withering Waves. Where it's like, these games just kind of suck. Uma Musume at least had an identity. I don't think it's based on an anime, but it definitely got turned into an anime at some point. Because I've seen parts of the anime. But no, I think that's... I'm not going to say it deserved the win, but out of all the mobile games that were up this year, of course that's the one I expected to. Withering Waves did win Player's Choice, though, which is every year Player's Choice, the 100% fan-voted category, is all the proof I need that fans should never have control over the Game Awards. Because every year, it goes to some stupid mobile game gotcha bullshit. Like, I saw Arc Raiders fans were like, this year, you know, we may not have been nominated for anything major, but we're going to make our voices heard in Player's Choice. And then they got absolutely stomped by Genshin Impact, which is a game that I don't even think should qualify. Genshin Impact came out years ago. It should not even be eligible for Player's Choice, in my opinion. And then Withering Waves was the other one, and of course that one won. Like, no surprise there. They really need to fix Player's Choice, because I feel like that's a problem every year. Or at least get rid of the games that are there, you know, every year. Like, the fact that Genshin gets nominated every year, that's bullshit. That game came out years ago. Oh, but it gets new updates all the time. I don't care. I know we have a best updates category, which, by the way, they should merge those two categories. We'll talk about it. Next up, best debut game. Obviously, it was going to go to Expedition 33. It went to Expedition 33. Of course it did. No surprise there. Best indie, I wanted it to be Hollow Knight. I think the fact that, you know, Expedition 33, they're a small team of, you know, 33 people. But they also had support from like 90 other people. Plus, you know, they had a lot of outhouse support. Meanwhile, Silksong was 3 people. Yes, they had some people help with like translations and whatnot. It's still more or less a studio of 3 people. I think when I think of indie game, I think Silksong is peak achievement of what indie developers are able to do. Small scales, smaller budgets, smaller teams. Sure, Expedition 33 is very good for what it does with its group of people. I do think it should... I know there are some people who say Expedition 33, you know, because of what I just said about, like, oh, it having support of, like, 90 plus, you know, consultants or whatnot, you know, outside sourced people. It should not qualify for this category. Which is different than, like, what Dave the Diver did. I don't agree with that. I think Expedition 33 should be here, but I don't think it should win it. I think Silksong should win it, just because of how it exemplifies the indie spirit. But I could see someone making the argument, oh, well, Expedition should get it, because, you know, they left the traditional publisher system. That what they wanted to do within the confines of Ubisoft, they weren't able to do, so now they've gone out and struck it on their own. And so I get that, but I'm just biased towards Silksong. Best community support. I did not know this at the time. Baldur's Gate has won this award every time it's been nominated. They won it the year the game came out. They won it last year. And spoiler alert, they won it this year. My prediction had been Helldivers. Yeah, no, it went to Baldur's Gate again. Same thing with best ongoing game. My prediction was Marvel Rivals. I think Marvel Rivals was a good fit. They've added a bunch of content, specifically new characters and new maps. They've done a lot with Marvel Rivals. Like, we literally got a new character today, and they announced a new one yesterday. I think Marvel Rivals would have been a perfect fit for this category. It went to No Man's Skies. Don't get me wrong, No Man's Skies has done awesome work on their game. They truly have. But they've won this award before. I know for a fact they have. Did they not? Okay, they didn't win it in 24. I don't think I have 23's data. I might if you give me a second. No, Cyberpunk won it 2 years ago. See, Cyberpunk I could more see because they went in and they actually fucking fixed that game. Do I have the year before? I do have the year before that. Wow. Best ongoing went to Final Fantasy 14, and that makes sense. So if No Man's Skies has won it, it's been a while. I'm definitely missing a year in there. I think I skipped. Did I skipped a year somewheres in there? No. No, I guess I didn't. Okay, never mind. No Man's Skies, you know, they've done a lot of great work on that game. I'm biased towards Marvel Rival because it's the one I actually play. But I personally believe best community support and best ongoing should just be combined into best ongoing. The fact that we have these two different categories that feel very similar. But, you know, what is the difference between community support and ongoing game? I know I could probably go on their website and be like, oh, community support is them, like, reaching out to players and, like, listening to player feedback and stuff like that. If I think along those lines, I think about something like Hades 2, that was in early access and was improved by listening to player feedback. But no, it goes to Baldur's Gate again, which I couldn't even tell you what Baldur's Gate did this year. Like, at least when Final Fantasy XIV won, I had spent all year listening to Final Fantasy XIV people talk about how much they've done for that game. I don't think we should have two, like, ongoing categories. I think they should just merge them into one. Another category I don't think we need, best game or games for impact. Don't get me wrong, these are all good games. I like games for impact in theory, but it's just, it's a category that reeks of pretentiousness. Like, oh, we're the Game Awards, take us seriously. Here's, you know, our serious games. I would say it's the Game Awards equivalent of, like, best, you know, short film or best short documentary. I don't think we need a category like that. I really don't think the whole Games for Impact actually makes me take the Game Awards any more seriously. What I would be interested in is a best foreign game or a best non-English game. Because I was hearing this year, Jeff was talking about the judges. Jeff was talking about the judges on the Game Awards, and only 33% of them are American. And of the total number of judges, 33% do not speak English. I think the idea of a best foreign game is a very appealing category. But then I also think in the other direction of listening to, you know, the game who won Games for Impact was South of Midnight. I've heard good things about South of Midnight, but I guess part of it is that because South of Midnight had the support of Microsoft behind it, they were able to translate their game into a bunch of different languages, which meant a bunch of different people could play that game. Whereas something like Consume Me or Despelote, they don't have that luxury. They're a much smaller game from a smaller studio. They can't, at most they could get whatever their, like, native language is in English. And sometimes, you know, they can't even get that. So I like the idea of, like, a best foreign game category, but I see where the complication comes from. But I think it would be interesting. And that's more, you know, the Oscars does that, and that's more high art than, you know, Games for Impact. Not that I'm mad South of Midnight won it. I actually really like that South of Midnight won it. During their acceptance speech, they announced that during their acceptance speech, they announced that South of Midnight is coming to PS5 in Nintendo Switch 2. Technically, I think the Switch 2 part of that did get leaked, but either way, I think that's great. And I'm actually kind of glad we got that announcement during their acceptance speech. I've heard good things about South of Midnight. It's not a perfect game, but I've heard it's decent. And yeah, because the weird thing about South of Midnight is at one point Xbox sat down and was like, hey, here's all of our games coming to other consoles in the future. And they talked about like Indiana Jones and Gears of War and the like. And out of all those games, I think Microsoft Flight Sim. And out of all those games, for some reason, South of Midnight was the only one not coming to any other platform. So it's nice to see that that's finally happening. That's a good announcement. I'm glad that's there. That's one of like the two things that I have here in the winners section that isn't in the announcement section, because it was announced during a winning speech. Next up, we got innovation and accessibility. I had guessed Assassin's Creed, usually Ubisoft, for as much of like a dude bro company as it is, are actually pretty decent at accessibility. It ended up going to Doom the Dark Ages, but, you know, I think that's fine. Any innovation and accessibility is good innovation. I do want to point out, though, that's back-to-back wins for Microsoft. Much like Nintendo, Microsoft walked away with 2 awards this year, and it was only nominated for 3. Microsoft and Nintendo both individually walked away with more awards than Sony, which the only one Sony got was for, I guess, The Last of Us Season 2. That's it. Sony didn't get a single other award. That's rare from Microsoft. Mainly, Microsoft didn't really have a presence at the Game Awards. Like, there was an ad for Game Pass, but outside of that, they didn't have any big announcements. Sony didn't have any announcements. Nintendo never does. I mean, there was a clip of the Mario movie. We'll talk about it. But yeah, no, Microsoft walked away with more than Sony did. That never happens. And Microsoft has never been nominated for Game of the Year. In the past, like, decade of the Game Awards, Microsoft has never had a nominee for Game of the Year. PlayStation has had one every year. And Nintendo's missed, like, 2 of the past 10. Might be 3, but I think it's 2. But hey, you know, there you go for my, you know, some of their purchases are finally starting to pay off. They're able to get 2 awards. And not like they matter. Next up, best performance. I had predicted Ben Starr, because I felt like this had been a pretty big year for Ben Starr. I felt like I had seen Ben Starr all over the place. It's probably the Balatro thing. But then actually listening to people talk about this category, it made sense that I went for Jennifer English. I guess Jennifer English is like the main character of Expedition 33. So it makes sense that they won it. I think it's a fine win. I do think it's very weird that Expedition 33 had 3 nominees in the category. I definitely feel like the Game Awards should, you know, maybe not do that in the future and maybe make a limit to how many can get nominated for each game. But whatever. I was nice to see Erika Ishii there. They were shown multiple times, and I loved when they were announcing best performance. Erika was just eating popcorn. And because they knew they weren't going to win it. They knew it. And that was Erika's a treasure. Love him to death. Best audio design. I expected Expedition 33 to win it. No. Expedition 33 was nominated for 12 awards. They had 12 nominations, but because they had multiple in best performance, the most awards they could possibly win was 10. Of those 10, I kind of expected them to take all 10. Like, if they had won all 10 of their nominations, I would have in no way been surprised. At the end of the day, they won 9. And the only one they lost was Best Audio Design, which they lost to Battlefield. Which, to be fair, that makes sense. I think it makes perfect sense that Battlefield 1. I know the shooters are very good with audio design. It is very important to them. But I'm just kind of surprised that, you know, of course, the one time I do actually vote for it, it does win. I say that like I didn't pick it for most of the next categories. Best score in music. I still think Mario Kart should have at least been nominated for this one. Obviously, it went to Expedition 33. They opened the show with music from Expedition 33, and it was fantastic. Best art direction. I've actually seen some complaints about this one, that there is nothing in Expedition 33 that really like shines when it comes to music. That's like oh yeah, this game should definitely win it. Whereas with some of the other nominees, no, they have those moments where it's like, oh yeah, this is really impressive. This is really inspired. But Expedition 33 still won it. Best narrative, of course they won. Again, another one that I think could have gone to Kojima in an alternate world, but it didn't. Best game direction. So I knew this was going to go to Expedition 33, but my hope had been Split Fiction, because I actually think, specifically talking about game direction, Split Fiction is actually very good. It's got a lot of unique direction choices. And again, I want everything to at least walk away with something. But I think if Split Fiction had won it, if Death Stranding would have won it, I would have been happy. But it obviously went to Expedition 33. And then that leaves us as Game of the Year. We all knew going in that it was going to be Expedition 33. The only way you didn't know it was going to be Expedition 33 is if you're one of those jagoffs who only plays like Madden, FIFA, and Call of Duty. So you, of course, didn't know this game existed. But if you knew Expedition 33 existed, you knew it was going to win, because everybody just kept talking about it. So obviously Expedition 33 did win. No surprise whatsoever. Now, interestingly, during their acceptance speech, they announced that, hey, even though they'd won 9 awards, this was their 9th win. They knew they were going to win Game of the Year, because when they gave up to give their Game of the Year winning speech, they announced, hey, guess what? As a thank you, we're releasing a free DLC update tonight that you can go play right now. They put out a trailer for it. So if you beat Expedition 33, they put out some new DLC that you can go play right now as a thank you. That's great. I love that. I truly do love that. I think that's fantastic. But, of course, Expedition 33 won 9 of the 10 awards it was nominated for. And as a result of that, we have already started to see the backlash form. People saying that, oh, the game was good, but it's not 9 awards good. It's not the most awards that any game has ever won in the history of the Game Awards good. I couldn't tell you. I've never played the game. But now I kind of want to. I feel like because this game is so popular, those people will come out of the woodworks and be like, well, the game's too popular, I'm not going to play it. When your obvious reaction should be, oh, this is the game that's won the most awards of any game in the history of the Game Awards. Maybe I should actually play it. That was my reaction, but you know, those people, the gamers TM, view it the exact opposite way. That, oh, the Game Awards glazed this game too much, it must actually be garbage, or whatever the fuck those people, the gamers TM, do. I don't know, but I am now definitely more interested in playing this game than ever before. The last thing I will say is that I give it a year. By this time next year, someone will make a multi-hour long video about how Expedition 33 is not as good as everyone says it is. And I'm not just talking about like one of those assholes who's like, oh, Expedition 33 is bad because it's woke DEI garbage. No, I'm talking about like a Joseph Anderson or a Skitty Bitty. Someone with like actual critiquing talent. Within 1 year's time, somebody is going to make a multi-hour video about the flaws of Expedition 33. It might even just straight up be Joseph Anderson. I could see them being the ones to make that video. But I'm going to call that right now. It's only a matter within the next... But I'm going to call that right now. Within the next year, we will start to see multi-hour think pieces about how Expedition 33 isn't actually that good. They're probably being written as I speak. So that's the awards. Honestly, I think they're fine. Most of the stuff I expected to win did win. Admittedly, my predictions were way off. When it comes to predictions, I did awful this year. Of the 27 nominees that I guessed on, I only got 11 right. And some of those, you know, like Game of the Year or Most Anticipated, were super obviously. There was only ever going to be one winner. But I did awful this year, which isn't always the case. You know, last year... Okay, admittedly, I don't remember how I did. Last year, I don't think I did great either. Okay, last year I did a little better. Year before that, I did a little better. Year before that, I did better. Year before that, I did about the... I probably got like 13 out of 28. But yeah, I did awful this year when it comes to predictions. You know, it's just how the game works. You play the game, you lose some, whatever. Any other thoughts on the awards? Yeah, I got 11 correct predictions, 16 wrong. Expedition 33 win 9 awards, had 12 nominations, 10 possible wins, only lost Best Audio Design, and Thank You Update available today. Nintendo wins 2, Xbox wins 2. And then, okay, final thing is who didn't win. Dispatch, Ghost of Yotei, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 did not win a single award. Neither did Death Stranding. There's another one. 4 major games that did not win a single award. Like, when you see people start to make, like, their personal best of the game... When you see people starting to make their personal favorite game of the year lists, those are 4 games that I think are going to be on a lot of people's list. And they won nothing this year. And I think for some people, that is the problem with Expedition 33 winning everything. It's not that it won a bunch of awards. It's that there were a lot of other great games that just walked away with nothing. That because Expedition 33 dominated so heavily, there were a lot of other games that just didn't get recognition, like, at all. Like, we're lucky that Silk Song and Hades at least walked away with something. Again, awards don't actually matter, but it's, you know, it can be nice to have one, I guess. And yeah, I think it was Shea Frillis, of all people, who made a tweet that was like, oh, you know, this was a great year for gaming, but watching the Game Awards, you would think only one good game came out this year. I think that's a little hyperbolic, but I at least understand where they're coming from. Because it was truly a great year for gaming. But Expedition 33 just tickled the itch for a lot of people. Ah, shit. We're already an hour in, and we're only like halfway through the Game Awards. Holy shit. Alright, let's talk about announcements. So we did get our fair share of announcements. Admittedly, I think last year was better when it came to announcements. Not because overall, part of it is that the overall quality was better, but more that I think they had more to announce. Like 2025 was just a bigger year in gaming than 2026 is currently shaping up to be. Not that 2026 is going to be bad. I'll be honest, we don't entirely know. It's just this year was so good that they just had more to talk about, whereas they have less to talk about for next year. But we did get some good announcements. I'm going to at least mention everything. I don't have strong thoughts on a lot of them, but I thought I'd at least mention basically everything. And we're going to talk about the pre-show as well, because, you know, they announced a bunch of stuff in the pre-show. So it starts off with the Free Shepherd. This is it kind of reminds me of Herdlings, which was a game that I think came out that people didn't really talk about. But in that you were like herding these like weird cow beasts. In this one, you're a sheepdog actually herding sheep. It of course goes a little beyond that, but I think it looked fine. I thought the same thing about Herdlings, that looked fine as well. It did, however, get a release of 2027. So this is over a year away. So I'm not even going to think about this game again until it gets closer to release. But they announced it. Next up is Decrepit. This was a horror game. It was kind of, you know, it's creepy. I don't really have much to say other than that. It was creepy. Audio Mech. So there is a demo of this game available right now. It's a rhythm, I think it's a roguelite. And it looks like it reacts to your audio. So, you know, it uses like your like if you're like playing the game and listening to music, the game will react to the music you're listening to and will change based on what music you're listening to. That sounds like an interesting idea. That's one of those things that like, oh yeah, you know, the modern technology of gaming, that's something we should be able to do. So in theory, I'm down for that. Will I ever play this? No, of course not. It's a potential rhythm game. I fucking suck at those. I'm amazed that I'm gonna probably play Unbeatable, which is another game that I'm scared to start because I'm so bad at rhythm games. We got Pragmata. This is that Capcom game that everyone kept comparing to Mega Man for some reason. But you're this guy, you're like this space marine, and you're saving this little girl who is, I'm pretty sure, a robot. It seems like she's a robot. It got a release date. I don't think we knew about this release date, but it now has a release date of April 24th. They put out a demo today. From people who have played the demo, I've heard it's good. Like, it's not going to be some, like, revolutionary game, but I've heard it's, like, a solid, like, 8 out of 10 game. Which, I know some people only want to play, like, 10 out of 10 perfect experiences. That's boring. I think it was My Life is an RPG over on TikTok, who made a video recently about how if every game was a 10 out of 10, that would be so fucking boring. And yeah, I agree. I like variety. I want middle shelf games. This potentially being a middle shelf game, even though I think it's $60 priced, it looks fine. They announced that it's coming to Switch 2, which is cool, because Capcom seems to be coming to the Switch 2. That's good. Fuck. I know what I have to do for this green star. This is gonna suck. And then along with the Switch 2 version, they're making an amiibo. Because even though the Street Fighter amiibos that Capcom released earlier this year are failing, like legitimately, they released the Street Fighter amiibos at like $30 an amiibo. If you go right now to Best Buy's website, you can buy all 3 Street Fighter amiibos for $30 for 3 of them. The Street Fighter amiibos failed badly. But even still, with the Street Fighter amiibos failing, you know, they're doing a Resident Evil amiibo, and now they're doing a Pragmata amiibo, and they're doing it of the little Mega Man girl. Okay. To be fair, it's better than the Mega Man amiibos we got. Because I think they did a Mega Man amiibo, but then they sold, like, they only made, like, they were either Japan exclusive, or it was some bullshit like that. But yeah, Pragmata, it's one of those games that I want to be good. I've heard good things about it. I want it to be good, but I'm definitely going to wait until reviews come out to even consider picking it up. The next game they talked about was Bradley the Badger. So this trailer starts off, because this is one I did actually see live. It starts off with this guy named Bradley, who's a badger, who is, you know, a 90s platformer mascot. But when he goes out into his 90s platformer world, instead of going out into a 90s platformer world, he's in Bloodborne. And then he's in The Last of Us. And then, oh, what was the other one? Because they're all like, it's Badgerborn. It's The Last Badger. It's Badgerfield. It's something like that. Basically, the premise of this game, as I understand it, is that you're a 90s platforming mascot. A la, you know, Crash Bandicoot, Sonic the Hedgehog. Third example here, Gex, I guess. But you're not in a platformer game. So instead, you have to change the game you're currently in, i.e. Bloodborne or The Last of Us, to make it more like a platformer. And there seems to be a lot of creative elements involved. Overall, I actually think this game looks fantastic. I can see some people saying it's cringe. I think it is extremely charming. There's an element of fourth wall breaking that I find very interesting. Bradley the Badger is voiced by Evan Peters. You know, Quicksilver, Ralph Boner, other movie he did. Yeah, that's Bradley the Badger. So all of that, the game already looks very interesting. Just based on this original trailer. But then I found out the game is being done by a brand new studio, Day for Night Studio. The people who worked at Day for Night Studio is someone who worked on Red Dead Redemption. Okay. And then someone who worked on Mario plus Rabbids. When I heard that, I immediately paused, because I was like, wait, is it Davide Soliani? Please tell me it's Davide Soliani. Because I remember when they left Ubisoft like 2 years ago. Sure enough, Davide Soliani is working on this game. If you don't know who this is, Davide Soliani, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, is the guy at the Ubisoft conference in 2017 who cried when Miyamoto applauded his work and told him how good of a job he was doing. That guy. That's the guy working on this Bradley the Badger game. He did Mario plus Rabbids. He did its sequel. I am now way more excited for this game just knowing that he's working on it. Because I really like his work. He did a fantastic job with the Mario plus Rabbids games. And so finding out that this is his new project, I am very excited. So yeah, Color Me. This is honestly the best. This, for me personally, this is like the best announcement of the show. Because there's another announcement I really liked, but that one's got a caveat to it. This one I don't really have a caveat for. This is just a good announcement. Next up is Stupid Never Dies. This game reminds me a lot of a Suda51 game. You know, this reminds me of Killer 7 or specifically Lollipop Chainsaw. If you told me this was like a spiritual successor to Lollipop Chainsaw, I would totally believe you. It's about a zombie boy and a human girl who are working together to fight monsters while, you know, rocking out to pop punk music. It was a very weird trailer. Like, the trailer honestly kind of reminded me of like a music video. But I like You know, I like Suda51 games, in theory, so potentially I could be interested in this, but it was a weird trailer. I'll have to wait and see more. And then the last thing of the pre-show, the big one, we're getting a new Star Wars game. Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. So this is not a direct sequel to Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2. It is a spiritual sequel, specifically because the director is Casey Hudson. If you don't know Casey Hudson, they were originally a BioWare dev, they worked on Mass Effect, and they worked on Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. But eventually they left BioWare, and then they started their new studio, Arcanaut? It's probably Arcanaut. Yeah, Arcanaut. So they started their own studio, and they've been given back the Star Wars license to make what is basically Knights of the Old Republic 3. This is a huge announcement. This is massive. People will tell you Knights of the Old Republic is the best Star Wars game. And when they tell you, you should maybe believe them, because it might be true. I know those games have issues, but for the most part, it is true. Knew it. Knew it was going to be off here to the side. So getting Casey Hudson back is huge. This is going to be a narrative-driven, single-player RPG. In theory, I am very excited. I know there was a Knights of the Old Republic remake announced at some point, either during the Game Awards or Summer Games Fest. At some point, that got either canceled or they had to restart development, because I've never played Knights of the Old Republic. I've only heard it's good. I've never actually played it. It's kind of like Silent Hill 2, where it's like, I've heard nothing but amazing things about this game, but I've never actually played it, even though, you know, I've had the chance to. All right, give me a second. I gotta go, before we actually get into the show, I gotta go get some water. I will be right back. I really need to pee, actually. All right, give me 1 second. Let me hit this. But yeah, Knights of the Old Republic. He's coming back. Admittedly, game's in early development. Still got a ways to go. But he did... I'll find the tweet while I'm out, and we'll talk about it when I get back. But I saw a tweet from Casey Hudson earlier that we'll talk about. Alright, so I found the tweet I was looking for. It's Casey Hudson on Twitter. And their first part is still buzzing from excitement from last night. We're in early development, but we look forward to revealing more about Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic, and we'll be sharing it here. And then he replies, don't worry about the not till 2030 rumors. Game will be out before then. I'm not getting any younger. Because that is, when they say that this game was in early development, that was my first thought as well. Like, oh, we're not going to see this thing for years. This is, Elder Scrolls 6 all over again. No. Now, this still probably does mean at least 28, but it's a ways away. But, that's fine. So, our next reveal was Divinity. So, just to make this clear, this is not Divinity Original Sin 3. I know there's a series called Divinity Original Sin that is made by the same studio from what I can tell. This is not Divinity Original Sin 3. This is more or less a soft reboot of the series done by Larian. If you do not know, Larian is the studio that made Baldur's Gate 3, Game of the Year 2 years ago, one of the biggest games in recent memory, outside of, Expedition 33. So this is a new thing from them. This is that whole statue in the desert that Kojima, or that Jeff Keighley had been building up. This is that. This was that statue was from. Technically, this did leak. I want to say the day before the Game Awards, maybe even 2 days before. The trademarks for Divinity did leak, and it was the statue from the desert. So that kind of sucked. The trailer for this new Divinity is very graphic. Because that's the thing, like, the Game Awards, in theory, it's not like a kid show. It's not a kid's show. But it's a show that, in theory, anybody could watch. I don't want to say it's family friendly, accessible for all ages, at least in theory. And that's how I think about it. But this Divinity trailer is not that. Like, watching Greg Miller talk about it, his kid was watching the Game Awards while, playing Kirby, and Jenna, his mom, had to block the screen so that way their kid didn't see any of this. And I get it. This trailer gets fucking graphic. You have blood, you have pigs eating vomit and shit. Sex, there's sex in this trailer. It's a lot. It gets graphic, skin peeling off. I've seen some people be like, oh, well, it's just like Diablo. And fair. But it was a lot. This was the last thing I saw of the Game Awards, live. And yeah, I get that complaint. I get that it was a lot. But it's just, it's what they want to do. Jeff says it's okay. Okay. I don't want to be a prude. That's the thing. Like, just because I don't entirely love, the skin melting off. Like, I'm not a Hellraiser fan. That doesn't mean that other people don't. I don't know, we could have discussions about that all day and long. That's not really what I want to talk about. But this was just a trailer, it's in development. I don't think we got it at like a year even. It's in development, it'll be a while. Larian did put out a statement saying that this is going to be their biggest game ever, which, Baldur's Gate 3 was massive. So this being bigger than that, that's huge. But yeah, when it comes out, we'll see. Next up was 4-Loop. This is a new game made by J.J. Abrams Studio. The Build-A-Boy, Lost Boy, whatever their studio is called. They're working with the guy who made Mike Booth, the director of Left 4 Dead. This is a 4-player co-op shooter. I feel like every game that has tried to be the next Left 4 Dead has failed miserably. So I don't expect this to be any different, but you never know. But I don't expect this to be any different. Shit. Next up is Coven of the Chickenfoot. This was a weird trailer. It definitely had more of a unique art style. It's a woman with with chicken feet, and then her weird, like, monster companion thing. It's a studio. It's a new studio headed up by Bruce Straley, who is the former co-director of The Last of Us Uncharted. So they've got some talent behind them. It was a weird trailer, but I don't think it was bad. It was just different. Looked fine, you know. It's one of those things I'd want to know more about in the future, I guess. Next up is Ontos. This is the new game from Frictional Games and Kepler Interactive, who, if you don't know, is the developers behind Amnesia: The Dark Descent. And basically, this is a spiritual successor to Soma. So, if you liked Soma, hey, here's their new thing. I feel like it's been a while. There's another game on here that's also been a while in the making. And it's funny, because I was thinking about it like a week or two ago. I was like, when are we going to see their new game? It's not the next one, it's the one after that. Next up, they showed off Resident Evil Requiem. Hey, guess what? Leon Kennedy's back. They're going to be playable. We're back in Raccoon City, the nuked city, the destroyed mansion. We're doing all that from some of the older Resident Evil games. I know people are excited. I find it very interesting how, instead of having to choose between, like, the stealth gameplay of some of the newer ones are going back to the more, like, action-oriented gameplay that we saw in, like, 4. They're just doing both. Like, when you're playing as, I want to say her name is Sarah. When you're playing as the girl, her gameplay is more like traditional, like, stealth horror. Whereas when you're playing as Leon, it's going to be more action-oriented. Yeah, I definitely think that's the right move of, instead of, picking one or the other, just do both. Then the next game is Order of the Sinking Star. This is the new game by Jonathan Blow. If you do not know who that is, Jonathan Blow is one of those legendary indie game designers. Originally, he made his name on the scene with Braid, which was a massive hit back in the day, and then he followed it up a few years later with The Witness, which was a puzzle game all about line puzzles that was really good, but also something I wouldn't recommend to anybody. Like, it is very much an acquired taste. I have not played Braid in years. It's been over 10 years at this point. I know they released that Anniversary Edition. I do want to play that Anniversary Edition at some point, but I just never got around to it. But Braid is a great game. If you've never played Braid, it's an easy recommendation. It's Braid at one point I saw compared to, like, the indie developers Mario. Which, I mean, they're both platformers. I get the comparison. Braid is good. The Witness is an acquired taste. I actually replayed The Witness earlier this year. It's my acquired taste, even though I hate some of those endgame puzzles. Oh my gosh. Like, honestly, if I could just play until the mountain, I would have a good time with The Witness. It's the moment you get into the mountain, that and beyond. Well, that and the swamp. God, I hate the swamp. But other than that, in theory, I like The Witness. It definitely made my Game of the Year list years ago. At least I think it did. But The Witness came out in like 2014. Maybe 2015, but I think it was 2014. So it always became like, what's Jonathan Blow's next game? They've been working on something. Admittedly, there is a non-zero I want to say at some point I did hear that Jonathan Blow was a Republican Trump supporter. I do not know if that is true. I should maybe Google that. Is Jonathan Blow... Does Jonathan Blow support Trump? This was from a year ago. Yeah, so I guess a year ago, on November 5th, 2024, so election night, Jonathan Blow tweeted out, "Nature is healing," when Trump won the election. Fuck. Fuck, man. I remember hearing something at the time. Ah, fuck. That's just... double check your sources, but that's very concerning. But he announced his new game, Order of the Sinking Star. It's another puzzle game. It seems to be like an open world puzzle game where you're playing as like 4 different characters, and each of the character interacts with like puzzle elements differently, and there's over like 1,000 puzzles. It seems very interesting, but Jonathan Blow being a Trump supporter doesn't sadly surprise me. I mean, I would say it's Phil Fish all over again, but that's... Phil Fish is a whole different can of worms. I do wonder what they're up to. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me about Jonathan Blow, sadly. Yeah. Yeah, the more I read from the more I read some of this stuff, the worse it gets. Fuck. Well, I guess I'll never play that game. Same thing with the developer. There was another one that's... The developer Factorio was also a Trump supporter, man. That's why you play Satisfactory. You know, while we're doing this bowling level over and over again, it's not actually too bad because we need the star bits. In order to unlock the final level, we're going to need 9,999 star bits. And this level is the fastest way to grind them. Alright, next up is Exodus. This is one of 2 games announced from Wizards of the Coast. This is Archetype Entertainment, and they showed off a trailer. The voice was Matthew McConaughey, I'm pretty sure. I read that somewheres. It's you know, Wizards of the Coast, them trying to capitalize on like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. Speaking of which, the next one is Dungeons and Dragons Warlock. This is again Wizards of the Coast and Invoke Studios. Okay, I don't really have too strong thoughts on this one. Next up is Control Resonant. The Control games are Control and Alan Wake are games I have always been interested in, but never actually played. I own all 3. I own Alan Wake Remastered, I own Control, I own Alan Wake 2. I have never actually played any of them. I have them in my library. I've picked them all up on like Steam sales. And then I've just never actually played them, even though I want to. But everything we saw of Control Resonant looks fantastic. You follow Dylan Faden in this one, who is the brother of Jesse Faden, the protagonist from the original Control, and you're in like a parallel twisted version of Manhattan. Okay, it seems interesting. You know, they had a whole trailer, they had a guy in a box, you know, weird Control shit, but that's what people like. Everything looks good. Everything looks good from this one. You know, it'll come when it comes. Because I don't think we got a release date or even year or anything. It might be next year, it might be later. Next up, Gang of Dragons. This is a new game from Toshihiro Nagoshi's new studio, who, that's one of the developers of the Yakuza franchise. So they worked on Yakuza, they eventually split off to make their own studio, and this is their new game. Yeah, again, it reminds me of Yakuza. No surprise there. And then the next big thing. We got a trailer for the Street Fighter movie. And what a trailer that was. So, there, you know, for a long time, both video game and comic book movies were afraid to be video game and comic book movies. You know, that's how you get the 90s Super Mario Bros. That's how you get the 2000s X-Men movies, where they're doing comic book stuff, but they're also afraid to be comic books, so that's why everyone's like dressed in leather and whatnot. But luckily, you know, part of it is the MCU. Even though I feel like as time goes on with the MCU, they've kind of fallen into the rut of being afraid to be comic books. Like the James Gunn Superman, no, that was totally comic book and I loved it. Because I like comic books. I'm fine with them being goofy and cheesy. Sure, it's not going to win them any awards, but be cheesy, be goofy. And this Street Fighter movie trailer totally embraces that. We got a bunch of different shots, a bunch of different characters, and they've all got costumes that are very game accurate to a degree. A good degree. And then it ends with the car bonus stage. That's how you know somebody cares. The fact that they're going to have the car bonus stage at some point. I can see that being like an end credit thing. But we know that it's going to be in there somewheres. Shows that somebody really cared working on this movie. So after we get the trailer, they then announce the cast. And not only did they announce the cast, they brought out the cast to give out an award. So we got Andrew Koji as Ryu, Andrew Schulz as Dan Hibiki, we got Kalina Lang as Chun-Li, Cody Rhodes as Guile, David Datsmalokin as M. Bison, Jason Momoa as Blanca, Mel Jarnson as Cammy, Noah Centineo as Ken, Oliver Richards as Zangief, Orville Peck as Vega, Reina Vallandigham as Julie, Roman Reigns as Akuma, and then Vidya Jamal as Dalsum. They brought out basically the full cast. I think the only one not is Eric Andre was also there. I don't know if he was there, but he was definitely mentioned. There were a few other people who were mentioned as well. But yeah, full cast. They did, I'll admit, when the cast was all there together, it was actually very awkward. Like, they did this whole bit where they were, like, passing on the microphone. I know some of these people are actually wrestlers, and, like, some of them were giant. The guy who's playing Zangief was huge. Oh my gosh. But yeah, like, the idea of the whole cast being there was fun. But the actual bit with the cast before they announced whatever award, I can't even remember what award they announced. But that was very awkward. It was a very awkward award. I want to say it was best, like, community support or best ongoing. It was one of those. But yeah, it was cool seeing the whole cast there. I think, kind of like, because that was my thing with the Mortal Kombat movie, is the Mortal Kombat movie was dumb, but I did have my fun with it. And I'm kind of hoping the same thing, but but from what we've seen of Street Fighter, it's going to be dumb, but it also better be a lot of fun. Because, you know, I have many problems with the FNAF movie. Them embracing the video game aspect is not one of them. In fact, it's probably to the detriment of the movie, how much they, embrace the video game, that they forget to be a good movie. Man, that was all crazy. Next up, we got Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. We got a release date, May 29th, 2026. Looks great. They're doing all the Batman movies from what I can tell. Because we had known they were doing the Nolan trilogy, and they were also doing elements from the Arkham games. But no, there were scenes where it's like, oh, that's Batman Forever. That's the Joel Schumacher movie. That's clearly a parody of Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. At one point you see a Robin, and it's like, okay, that's Dick Grayson. You see Nightwing, and then you see another Robin, and it's like, oh, that's Tim Drake. We got a Batgirl in this one, which we got Batgirl, and we get Firefly. That was supposed to be the Batgirl movie, was Batgirl and Firefly. you know, all these other Warner Brothers movies have been brought back from the dead. That one needs to also come back from the dead. I don't know if it's actually good or not. We'll see. But we've brought it back everything else. You know, Netflix, you gotta do that. If you really are buying Warner Brothers, you better bring back Batgirl. Well, doesn't fix all of the many problems, but you should fucking do that. Put Batgirl on Netflix. Be that your good faith argument that I don't believe. Either way, I am excited. I hope this game is good. I really do hope this Batman Lego game is good, because everything I see of it I do like, but you just never know. After that, we got Tomb Raider. This is one of the things that we knew was going to be here going into it. We got a new Tomb Raider game, Tomb Raider Catalyst. It looks good. You know, it's building off some of the older ones, so that's nice. And then we got the release date, and it's like 27. Oh, that's still a while away. And then they kept going. Because, guess what? We're getting 2 Tomb Raiders. We're getting Tomb Raider Catalyst, which is a new one, in 2027. But in 2026, we're getting Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which is a remake of the original game. That's great. That's the kind of shit I love. It's kind of like, you know, Nintendo did something kind of similar recently, even though technically the first half of this happened like 2 years ago, where they re-released Metroid Prime, and then we got Metroid Prime 4 like last week. Yeah, keep doing. I love that shit. When they re-released both the Pikmin games before Pikmin 4, I'm happy to, you know, I love replaying old games when the new ones comes out. And sure, you can get the Tomb Raider collections, but giving us an actual proper remake is nice. The remake looked good, so I'm all for it. Because some of those early Tomb Raider games have not exactly aged gracefully. A remake will help them a lot. Next up is The Forest 3. I know people like the Forest games. Not only have I never played them, but I know Achievement Hunter was playing them back in the day. I don't even really watch those videos. Like, I watched Achievement Hunter play 7 Days to Die, but The Forest just never interested me. I don't know, my brother loves those games, so he'd probably have more to say than I would. After that, we got Invincible Versus. This is that Invincible fighting game that I just cannot care about. I wish we had gotten a trailer for the new season of the show for season 4. That would have been nice, but no, it's instead for the fighting game. Now, the thing they're doing is they introduced a new character, but it's not just a new character for the fighting game. It's a brand new character in the Invincible universe. This is not a character from the comics. This is just somebody brand new. Her name is Elemental, and she uses the 4 elements. You know, earth, water, wind, and fire. Okay. I said this about Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals, the developers have said at some point they're going to introduce new characters. And my thought was, why introduce new characters when you have, like, new original, you know, NetEase created characters, when you have plenty of characters to draw on from the comics? I kind of feel the same way here. Like, why introduce a new character when you've got plenty to draw on from the comics? Now, that being said, I don't actually hate this character, like, design-wise. I think they're fine, you know, using the elements. Maybe it makes things more interesting, but also I don't give a shit about this game because I'm so sick of fighting games. I'm just okay. I played that Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls had a closed beta this weekend. I played it. I'm fucking awful at that game. I played for like an hour. I did not win a single match. I am so bad at that game. I am so tired of fighting games. I am so fucking... And I hate that everything is a fighting game. Like, oh, you know, do you have a superhero or anime property? Let's make it a fighting game or a dating sim. Like, come on. There's got to be more to it than that. Give me my One Punch Man city building game. Give me City Sim Saitama. Come on. whatever. Next up, Orbitals. So this is a Haze-like, a Haze-like? You know, It Takes Two split fiction. It's a co-op space adventure. It's a Switch 2 exclusive. That's interesting. But the most interesting thing about this game is its art style. It very much is inspired by, like, 90s anime. At least I think it's 90s anime. It could be earlier than that. But it's very heavily anime inspired. And it looks perfect. Like, the whole 90s influence that they wear on their sleeves, they're fucking nailing. It kind of reminds me of, like, you know, when you saw the South Park game for the first time, and it was just like, oh, that's just South Park. Like, they perfectly nailed the show. I feel the same thing with this. Like, they perfectly nailed the 90s anime aesthetic. Like, holy shit. So yeah, I'm overall pretty impressed with it. It looks nice. I don't know if it's anything I'd actually play, but visually, yeah, it is impressive. Next up, they showed off some Diablo 4. We're getting like a paladin character or something. I don't know. Didn't really... God damn it. It's Diablo 4. I haven't played Diablo in a long... Technically, I own Diablo 3, but I didn't really put much time into it. I don't know. It just wasn't really for me. After that, we got Marvel Rivals. The rumor going into the Game Awards was that it was going to be Deadpool, because that was the leaks. Yeah, it was Deadpool. Deadpool, I didn't write down the voice actor's name, but it's Sayu. If you've ever seen the VTuber Sayu, who admittedly I don't watch either, but you know, they collab with Monarch, and I've seen the occasional Monarch stuff. It's Alejandro something. Yeah, that's the voice actor of Deadpool. Okay, I think that's fine. Yeah, okay. I think they did a fine performance, you know, as Deadpool in this trailer. I guess the next season, season 6, is gonna be like, it's Night at the Museum, but it's Merc at the Museum. I'm pretty sure the museum is like the collector's collection. But, so in the trailer, we see Deadpool fight off a bunch of like animal Avengers. So we have Werewolf Captain America, which that better be a skin. Give me Werewolf Captain America. I know it's a meme. This game is not above embracing memes. I mean, like, come on. We get Throg, the Thor frog. And then the last one, the one I actually give a shit about, Devil Dinosaur. My most wanted character. Let me fix that real quick. My most wanted character in Marvel Rivals is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Specifically, I want them to be like a team character, not maybe potentially like Ash and Bob in Overwatch, but I want to see them go together. I don't want them to be two separate characters, like, oh, Moon Girl is a strategist and Devil Dinosaur is a tank, and then they just have team-up abilities. No, make them one character. I think that would be more fun. And seeing Devil Dinosaur in this trailer gives me hope that that will happen. Bring back Diamond White to play him, and I can't remember who played Devil. Yes, give me some more Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, because that show was so good, and the fact that Disney canceled it, you know, because they were transphobic. At least, that's not the whole reason, but that's definitely a contributing factor. No, I want more of them. They did a fantastic job. Really enjoy the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur show. If you've never seen it, great recommendation. It's so much fun. Go watch the band episode. Yeah. But no, everything we see looks good here. And then the final, right, because the characters come in twos. The other character, when they showed up, my first thought was, who is this? My first worry was, you know, because they said they're going to be doing original characters. I was like, oh, fuck, are we already getting an original character? No, this is an actual character from the comics. I just didn't recognize them. This is Elsa Bloodstone, who is technically in the MCU there in Werewolf by Night. But yeah, that's who it is. It's Elsa Bloodstone. They're Monster Hunter. She's a monster hunter. You know, her father was like a famous monster hunter who had a bloodstone that gave her powers. And so she has it. Yeah, you know, I've also seen people say like, oh, maybe she'll play like Ash because she's got like this demon behind her. And I could see that. I could. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, I totally did not recognize the character. I'll fully, you know, fake fan here. I did not recognize the character at all. I had to go on Twitter to figure out who that is. Next up, we got 007 First Light got a new villain named Balma, who is played by Lenny Kravitz. That's so fucking random. There's a part of me that's like, oh, that's so random, I can't help but love it. But that's totally the type of shit that Hitman developers do. We've got another Hitman story here in a little bit. But yeah, that's totally the type of shit they do. After that, Lords of the Fallen 2. Okay, that's a thing that exists. We got a new trailer for Soros. You know, the new by the developers of Returnal. We've got a new story trailer. Yeah, looks good. We got the release date is April 30th. I swear that's a delay. I thought Soros came out in March. So is that a delay? I did not look it up. Did Soros get delayed? Okay, that's not how it's spelled, but yes. Okay, I don't. Why are you giving me George Soros? That. I don't want to be on this side of Twitter. Fuck. Yes, Soros was delayed from March 20th to April 30th. Okay, I thought so. Either way, I need to play Returnal at some point. I've been told I would like Returnal. Is it on sale right now? I could look. I don't think I own it. I don't think it was one of those free PlayStation games. Yeah, it is. It's 58% off. I'll think about it. I will think about it. Because I've heard it's good. After that, we got No Law. This is new game from the developers of The Ascent, Neon Giant. Okay, I don't really have any thoughts on it. After that, they did Hitman World of Assassination, and they announced a new elusive target. The last elusive target was fucking Slim Shady. This time, it's Mila Jovovich, who, if you don't... I know her as the main actress from the Resident Evil movies. I'm sure she's done something else, but that's all I can think of. Yeah, you know, very on brand with the Hitman games. I'm amazed that so many years later, they're still supporting that game, still putting out content. Yeah, crazy. Next up, they brought out David Harbour, and he introduced Total War, the new Total War game, which is Warhammer 40k. People really like those Warhammer games. Every few years, we get a new Warhammer game, and people are always so excited for them. So, hey, maybe this appeals to those people. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really know much about Total War. You know, I really only play Paradox Interactive strategy games, so I couldn't tell you. God. But yeah. After that, Ace Combat 8 got announced. I know people who are fans of Ace Combat were very excited for this. I've never played an Ace Combat game, so I have no real strong takes on this. But I know people who are fans of Ace Combat got very excited. After that, oh, this was a big one. So they pitched this game as like, hey, a new game from the developers of Need for Speed. And, you know, myself and many other people were like, ah, wow, a new racing game, whatever. And then it cuts to Star Wars. And I'm like, oh shit, new Star Wars racer, new pod racer game. Oh crap. And while this isn't pod racing, this is not, you know, new Star Wars pod racer. It is a new Star Wars racer, you know, people's favorite Glorb Shido Zabulba's here. So there will probably be pod racers as available vehicles. But a new Star Wars racing game sounds fantastic. Again, Disney said at some point they were diversifying their brand. This is the kind of shit I'd want to see, you know? If EA was the only one in charge, admittedly, I don't think Need for Speed is an EA game. It might be. If it is, they never gave... Oh, fucking course it is. Okay, never mind. Never mind. It still amazes me that it's taken us this long. EA got the Star Wars license back in like 2014. It's okay, maybe 2015. Either way, it's been fucking years, and only now are you giving us another Star Wars racer. I want this to be good. I do. I'm not like, outside of Mario Kart, I'm not a big racing fan, but I want this to be good. I know my father would love this game. He loves a good racing game, and he likes Star Wars. Yeah, this would be great. But yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, I'm a little hesitant. Did EA come out recently and be like, we're a no AI company? Was that EA or was that someone else? I honestly don't remember. Next up, we got Phantom Blade Zero. This is a Souls-like Kung Fu punk. That's the description I got off Twitter. Release date, September 9th, 2026. Again, I don't have any real strong thoughts either way. And then after that, we get to our... We had two final announcements. There's one other thing I want to talk about in there, but our big final two. And the first one, so it starts off, Jeff Keighley comes out and he's like, you know, every year at the Game Awards, we try to get one big announcement, you know, bring back the revival of a classic franchise. So Jeff Keighley comes out and he's like, every year at the Game Awards, we try to bring back the revival of a classic franchise. And this one I'm very excited to announce. And he starts playing they start playing the music. And it kind of, because Okami was set up the same way. And I was like, oh, are we going to get something along those lines? And then I did not recognize it at first. It took me until they started doing the theme, which was right before the doors opened, where it was, oh, this is Mega Man. Oh my gosh, are we getting a new Mega Man? I love me some Mega Man. Admittedly, I'm a fan of the classic games. I like 1 through 6. Okay, by the end of those, they get kind of stale. I like 9 and 10. I liked 11. 11 is a very good middle shelf game. You can currently get Mega Man's 1 through 11 for $15 right now. If you have never played a Mega Man game, you can get all 11 of the original series for $15. I'd personally say that's worth it. Sure, they can get a little stale after a while, but there are some great games in there. So it's like, oh yeah, new Mega Man. And then we see Mega Man, we get some gameplay. It looks just, it's what I would picture Mega Man 12 to be. After having played Mega Man 11, if you asked me Mega Man 12, it'd probably look something like this. And then the trailer ends, new title, Dual Overdrive. And I'm like, okay, we're not doing 12, we're doing something new. You know, I'm fine with that. And then we get the release, 2027. That's too far. 2027 is too far away. Especially if you're doing 2D platformer Mega Man. 2D platformer Mega Man. should not take until 2027. Now, they did announce that they are going to be doing a contest to let a fan design a Robot Master again. I like shit like that. They've done that before. Is that how we got Splash Woman? I admittedly don't remember. But they've done it before. So, like, some of that shit's fun. But 2027, this was announced too early. Especially for 2D platformer Mega Man, and to make this the penultimate announcement of the show. Like, Mega Man, you know, if you had just said, hey, new Mega Man game in development, and gave us nothing else, I think that would have been better than giving us actual gameplay, and finding out that it's a 2D platformer. Don't get me wrong, I am excited for this. I love a good 2D platformer Mega Man. But I don't think, for a lot of people, this isn't going to move the needle, and the release date kills it for me. I did see, I think it was Andy Cortez, who was like, they should, instead of doing another 2D platformer, this should have been Mega Man's Metroid Prime moment. We've had 11 2D platformer Mega Mans in just the main series. That's not even counting like X or any of the other ones. We'd have 11 of them. We should, you know, Mega Man's experimented with 3D. There was also, you know, Maverick Hunters or whatever. But make Mega Man Metroid Prime. Take the 2D format of the game, put it into 3D, give us Mega Man Metroid Prime. Or give us Mega Man 64. That's not the already I think Mega Man 64 is a real game. That's not, you know, Mega Man 64, but like an actual like 3D, hey, you know, we're relaunching Mega Man, new visuals, new space, because this just looks like Mega Man 12. Like, visually, I don't think this is too much of an upgrade from Mega Man 11. And to be fair, I liked Mega Man 11. I think it was a very solid middle shelf game. I think it was like $40 when it came out. It wasn't expected to make all the money in the world, but it was a solid game. And then it surprised me that they never made a Mega Man 12. Like, I for sure, like around like 2021, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get Mega Man 12 finally. Because Mega Man 11 came out in like 2018. And then it just never happened. And now we are finally getting Mega Man back. And it's just like, okay, it's Mega Man. This is why everybody keeps calling Pragmata Mega Man, you know, the new Mega Man game. Because, well, yes, it has nothing to do with Mega Man. There's this sort of like spiritual aspect of like, oh yeah, if Mega Man was in 3D, it might be something like this. So yes, I am in theory excited for a new 2D Mega Man. But this could have been so much more. This, even if it had had a 2026 release date, that alone probably would have made me happier. But this could have been so much more. Mega Man, Capcom has been so good at bringing back so many of their franchises. You know, with Street Fighter, with Resident Evil. Does Capcom do Devil May Cry? I know it's been a while since the last Devil May Cry game. Does Capcom do Devil May Cry? Is that them? Yes, that is them. Capcom has been doing some good stuff recently. They've been on a bit of a roll. But Mega Man's always kind of been their one blind spot recently. Like, after 11 and, you know, a few collections, we really haven't gotten anything. And this is... like, yes, I'm excited for this, but we should have gotten more. This should have been more. And so after that, there was one final big, you know, the final big announcement of the show. But before we did get that, we did get a new look at the Mario Galaxy movie. We got a clip. It was like 10 seconds of, hey, it's when Bowser Jr. shows up. He demands his dad. He fights Mario. Luigi knees him in the face and then complains about how much his knee hurts, and that's where the trailer ends. It was like 10 seconds of a new clip. Yeah, I'm excited to see the movie. I wish the clip was a little longer. Whatever. Or I wish it had been something we hadn't seen before. Because we had seen parts of this scene before. With, you know, Bowser Jr. showing up and demanding his dad. Whatever. So, our final thing is a game called High Guard. Now, last year's Game Awards, you had Okami... Okay, let me put it like this. I think you end a Game Awards with two big reveals. One reveal that appeals to everybody. You know, the family-friendly reveal. And then your second reveal is more for the gamers. It's something a little bit more niche, usually from a very specific studio that has more specific interests. But if you're in that specific interest, you're going to be very excited. Last year, I think they did a great job at this. You had the announcement that Okami 2 is in development, and then you had, which was, you know, the fun, family-friendly one. And then you had Intergalactic, which was the more niche, but more for the gamers announcement. This year, you had the more family-friendly classic announcement with Mega Man. But then for your big final for the gamers announcement, they had a game called High Guard. Now, the developers of High Guard are people who used to work at Respawn. And they're making a new game. You know, the developers of High Guard are the people who worked at Respawn. So they worked on Titanfall, they worked on Apex Legends, presumably Titanfall 2 as well. Even though they don't say that in the trailer. I would be bragging more about Titanfall 2 than I would the original. And this is a new first-person shooter. Now, just the idea of them announcing a new first-person shooter, I don't think is inherently bad. If this had been like a spiritual successor to Titanfall 2, because everybody wants Titanfall 3, because Titanfall 2 was so good. And if this had been a new single-player shooter that was a spiritual successor to Titanfall 2, yeah, I would have been so hyped for this. I love Titanfall 2. But instead, this is a PvP raid shooter where players will ride, fight, and raid as wardens, arcane gunslingers set on a fight to control the mythical continent. I've already seen some people calling this Concord 2. I wouldn't go that far just on nature. At least this one is a freemium game, which is already doing more than Concord was, because Concord asked you to pay for their game. This one's gonna be freemium, so at least it's got that. But yeah, if this is another one of those games that shows up, people play it for like 2 weeks, and then they completely forget about it, I will in no way be surprised. I'm actually very surprised that Apex Legends is still around. I don't know a single soul who plays Apex Legends. Not a one. And yeah, Apex Legends keeps getting updates and whatnot. So, but yes, could this be good? Maybe. Concord was a decent game. It's just nobody bought it. Nobody played it. This could be a decent game that, you know, people play for 2 weeks and then completely forget about. That's the holding pattern at this point. Is they buy it, they buy it, they download it, play it for 2 weeks, and then it's gone forever. If that happens, I will in no way be surprised. But maybe it is good. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it could be good. It's just, this is not what anybody wanted. For your final announcement, it should... Basically, the final announcement at the Game Awards should be something single player. Doing anything multiplayer is just kind of inherently doomed from the start, because multiplayer games are extremely oversaturated. And it's just harder to get excited. Like, if this had been the final announcement of the pre-show, and then KOTOR, or the new Fates of the Old Republic, had been the final announcement, things would be so different. People would love this show. Or even if they had saved Divinity for the end of the show, people would be more excited. But ending it off with a multiplayer game just doesn't do it. So so every Game Awards, I feel like there's a point where they lose me. Where it's like, you know, I'm enjoying the awards, you know, I'm having some fun with the announcements, But eventually they run out of big announcements, and it gets a little stale, it gets a little boring, and they kind of lose me. This show really only lost me in the last, like, half hour. Yes, was that helped out a lot by watching the Kinda Funny crew and having a good time with them, as parasocially as that sounds? Yes, that did definitely help things. But yeah, the show kind of lost me in the last half hour, but usually they get you back for that final announcement. Last year, the final 2 announcements of Okami and Intergalactic definitely had me back. The final 2 announcements this year, Mega Man I was excited for until we got the release date. But High Guard did nothing for me. In one ear, out the other. I'll probably, the game comes out in 7 weeks. It comes out January 26th. I'll probably hear people talk about it then, hear from the Kinda Funny crew if it's good or not, but I won't think about it. Whereas, still a year later, I'm like, yeah, Okami. Yeah, Intergalactic, that might be good. Maybe I don't think about it much, but it might be good. Okami's still years away, though. And yes, I will be excited for a new Mega Man. But that's, God, over a year away. Which one comes out first? The new Mega Man or a GTA 6? I legitimately think I think it could potentially be Mega Man. Oh, God. Ah, shit. So that's all I've got for announcements, but I do have a few other things. So this is my other category. It's just stuff that didn't really fit into either of the announcements or the winners. I'm sure I probably could have found a place, but I wanted to talk about a few more things from the Game Awards. So the show opened with, there were 3 big music numbers. The show opened with one from Expedition 33. Not bad. As someone who, again, hasn't played the game, hasn't really heard the music, I thought it was interesting. It kept me entertained. I'm not going to say it was like the most amazing thing ever, but I was entertained, surely enough. After that, we got Jeff Keighley's opening speech, which, he always starts off with this big opening speech. I'm amazed he kept it together. Because I will say, last year I did a video about how I cried during the Game Awards. I did not cry this year. I didn't. But I'm amazed Jeff Keighley didn't. Because his opening speech about how his house burned down and his father passed away, I would not have been able to make it through that. I'm amazed he did. But that... I know some people don't like Jeff Keighley. They find him annoying or cringe. I give him the benefit of the doubt. Anyone I've heard that knows him says he's a decent guy. He seems like a fine person. He's trying to do his best. I give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He seems like a decent person. And yeah, that opening speech, it definitely started the show on a note, but I think that was good. Let's talk about the Muppet stuff. I want to say, I'm not a big Muppets guy. I grew up with Muppets in Space. That was my Muppets movie as a kid. Which, if you know anything about the Muppets, that's like the worst one, or one of the worst ones. I don't know, I've heard that Wizard of Oz one is pretty bad. But I was not really a Muppets fan. I've seen Muppets in Space, I've seen the Muppets movie, the reboot, I've seen its sequel, Most Wanted, and I've seen Muppets A Christmas Carol, which I love, by the way. Muppets Christmas Carol might be my favorite Christmas movie. It's definitely my favorite adaptation of A Christmas Carol, bar none. Okay, there are some that get close, but Muppets Christmas Carol is really good. But I'm not a huge fan of the Muppets. But you know who is? Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley is a massive fan of the Muppets. Every year he invites them back. Last year was fantastic. he got Statler and Waldorf, and they just shit on him, and it was so entertaining. It was funny. I think they definitely bring them back. But, you know, in previous years, they did like Beaker and Honeydew, Bunsen and Honeydew. They did them. This year, it was Miss Piggy. I don't think they've ever... I think they had Fozzie one year. I don't think they've ever had Kermit. You know, he's too busy doing the Masked Singer. But Jeff Keighley likes the Muppets, and he likes the Muppets more than Disney likes the Muppets. Because Disney does not give a shit about the Muppets. You know, with the whole... Like, we should be getting... Disney is so obsessed with remaking their classic movies. Not even classics. Moana was, what, 2015, 2016? Disney is so obsessed with remaking their movies. They should be remaking their movies with the Muppets. I would pay money to see Star Wars remade with the Muppets. You know, Kermit and Fozzie are Han Solo and Chewbacca. Darth Vader is Sam the Eagle. Miss Piggy is Princess Leia. I would pay money to see that. And Disney just does nothing with the Muppets. Disney may not care, Jeff Keighley does. But it's also clear that because Disney doesn't give a shit about the Muppets, a lot of people don't give a shit about the Muppets either. Basically, an entire generation has grown up without the Muppets. And it's just kind of sad. I thought the Muppet stuff was fine. I know Miss Piggy is kind of mean and some people don't like that. But some people definitely do. Admittedly, I'm not one of them. Like, I don't care for the Tsundere. I don't like Haley in Stardew Valley. But I know plenty of people do. And Miss Piggy scratches that itch. She had 3 segments. Yes, was it weird that in the first Miss Piggy segment, she implied that she fucked Jeff Keighley at Bora Bora? Yes. I think that is very funny, though. The second segment with her, like, right off camera and she's like poking in, I also thought that was kind of funny. The third segment was okay. It was her and what's the dog, Rolf the dog, and they were like improvising a song about the Game Awards. They mentioned Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, put the Muppets in Kingdom Hearts, come on, Disney. But I thought it was fine. It wasn't I think last year's Muppets were really good. Statler and Waldorf are just so fucking funny. And this year, it's Miss Piggy. It's more of an acquired taste. But I'm glad Jeff Keighley cares about the Muppets. Because someone's got to. And I'm not even a big fan of the Muppets. But I get it. I do. Next up, you have the Game Changer Award. So, last year, with all the problems in the industry, Jeff Keighley created the Game Changer Award for people who are actually trying to do good in the games industry, either individuals or organizations. I think it's a fantastic idea. You want me to take the Game Awards seriously, Jeff Keighley? This is the kind of award I want. I don't care about games for impact, even though most of those games are actually pretty good, and it's a pretty good recommendation list, but this is the kind of award I do like. And so this year, the award went to Girls Make Games, which is an organization that helps young girls get into gaming. They brought out 2 people who have joined the program, Ellie Freeman and Monica Paredes, and they accepted the award on behalf of the organization. They came out and they talked with Felicia Day about their game, Paper Trails, that was made with the help of the program, and how it will be coming to Steam and PlayStation soon. And yeah, that's the closest I got to crying, was this segment. Because that's what it was. This was the segment that made me cry last year. And yeah, this is the closest I got. It's the one award I do like. Because it's good. I'm glad they're still doing it. It's because the Game Awards used to have this thing called like Future Class. And I just never really cared about Future Class. It just didn't really do it for me. But this does. Keep this award around. The Game Changer Award is good. The second musical performance was Evanescence came out, and they performed the new song from Devil May Cry, as well as announcing that Devil May Cry is getting a season 2. I've heard the show is good. I think season 2 comes out in June, I think was the release date they gave. Okay. Right before I spun, I thought about it. I was like, it's right there, isn't it? Fuck. So we got that. And then the final performance, right before they announced Game of the Year, was the Game Awards Orchestra. I've said it in the past, I'll say it again. The Game Awards Orchestra is always the best part of the Game Awards. Those 6 minutes where we get a full orchestra soundtrack of one of the songs from each of the Game of the Year winners is some of the best moments in the Game Awards. And we get Flute Guy. Flute Guy is fine. I hear, he's really passionate about his work. He's really good. He's very much a professional, a musical genius. I'm glad he's there. But there is part of me that's it kind of feels like they're Taylor Swifting him at the Super Bowl. But he's good they do that because he's so good at what he does. But no, the Game Awards Orchestra this year was fantastic as always. Great music from Hades 2, great music from Silksong, Expedition 33. I did hear that the Death Stranding stuff didn't really sound like Death Stranding music. It's because they blended Death Stranding they blended Expedition 33 into Death Stranding, and it sounded more like Expedition 33 than it did Death Stranding, which, okay, that's a fair complaint. But then I loved it. They ended with Donkey Kong. They brought out the voice actress who plays Pauline, and she sang a bit of that song, and it was great. It was a great high moment to end on. As always, the Game Awards Orchestra knocks it out of the park, as they do every year. Truly some of the best moments in gaming. Every year, they always nail it. God, are we almost done with this? We've only got 2 stars. Because I'm not doing the final. We'll save the final worlds for next week. I'm not doing the final world today. But I still got stuff to talk about. Fuck. Fuck it. Let's just do Percy Jackson. Let's skip it. Okay. For WIBE, I played a little bit of Smash Bros. I played a little bit of Pokemon. I admittedly did not play as much Pokemon as I wanted to. I'll work on it. We'll talk more about it next week. Same thing with Smash Ultimate. I played a little bit of Smash Ultimate because Kirby Air Ride has its whole checklist thing. And I was like, I've never done all the checklists in Smash Ultimate because I've almost 100%ed that game. I should go back and do that. So this week I sat down and worked on all the checklists. There's 114 checklists items. I had 100 of them, so this week I got the last 14. I have now 100%ed Smash Ultimate. Fantastic game, had a good time with it. I'm kind of surprised I'd never done it before. Admittedly, it wasn't, again, I'd done all the spirits, that stuff was all easy. Okay, that brings us to Percy Jackson. So, Percy Jackson has its Season 2 based off the Sea of Monsters. I have said before, I am a Percy Jackson fan. I read the books as a kid. I was excited, I saw the movie sucked. Let's not harp on it. I saw the show, we talked about it on this show. Probably back during Season 4 of the previous In Chat podcast, we talked about it. I don't know, it's been a while. Maybe it could have been earlier than that. It could have been while we were doing Animal Crossing, for all I know. I like the Percy Jackson show. It definitely, it kind of does the Scott Pilgrim thing. To be fair, I think it did it before Scott Pilgrim, where they examine the original books and are like, okay, there's some problems, there's some problematic stuff. Let's go back and fix it. Or, make some changes for the modern age. Which, in theory, will one day make it dated as well, but you never know. So, they made a bunch of changes to the original Percy Jackson. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't. overall, I still thought it was a good show. The Sea of Monsters going to the second season. Sea of Monsters is my least favorite book. I think it is the weakest one. But I was still excited for the show because, if they're going in, they're updating things, they're making changes, they can make good changes. They can fix some of the problems. Just make it more interesting. Spend some more time with some of our characters. And yeah, going in, I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. We get Tyson. If you ever listen to the audiobook, they definitely make Tyson a developmentally challenged child. In the show, he's not. He's definitely on the spectrum of some sort, but it's different than the books, and I do like that. I like, in this one, instead of Tyson being like the one friend Percy has at school, instead he's a homeless kid that the mom took in, and instead of Percy being surprised that he's a Cyclops, no, they already know. That's a good change. I do like that, and I like that there's an element of like Percy's embarrassed by him, and that's something he's gonna have to work through. I like they're leaning into Tyson as an inventor, which is good. I like in the second episode when he fixes the chariot. They skip the whole dodge. In the second book, it opens with like a dodgeball scene where they're playing dodgeball against the Lystrigonian Canadians. They don't do that in the show, and I'm fine with that. The Lystrigonians do still show up, though. Eventually, they make their way to camp. We get Tantalus, who is still a dickwad. They made him more of a dick in the show. Like, I don't remember Tantalus threatening to kill them at the beach in the book. I think they made him even more of a jerk in the show, but I think that's a good thing. They also give him like a smarmy little satyr assistant, which I think is fine. Jason Menezukis is Dionysus, still perfect casting. Out of all the casting in this show, he's perfect. I like the kid doing Tyson as well, I should say that. Percy's good. The guy who's played Percy, it's been a few years. He's a little older now. And I definitely feel like he's grown into the role a little bit more. I like Annabeth. I like that one of the problems with the book that they are addressing is that in the books, there's like this great prophecy. But you don't actually hear the great prophecy until book 5. That's a problem. I feel like we should have gotten the Great Prophecy much sooner, and the fact that this first episode of the second season is Annabeth, at least knowing that there is a Great Prophecy, is good. That's important, and that gives her a reason to, not want Percy to go on the quest, which makes things more complicated. I do like that, so eventually Clarice gets the chance to go on the quest. And she gets to choose who she gets to go with. And she takes Annabeth, and Percy volunteers. And she doesn't take Percy, because Annabeth tells her not to. And instead, she takes Chris. So, spoiler alert for the books. I want to say Chris is the love interest of Clarice. He's definitely sent up as a love interest in this show. But the thing is, Chris doesn't appear until book 4. So they're setting him up earlier. And I think that's a good thing. The other thing I wonder, are they going to be setting up Selena? Because Selena, I also don't think appears she might appear in the second book during the chariot race. I know her boyfriend does, I think. Who, I cannot remember Selena's boyfriend's name. What the? Is it Charlie? Yeah, Charlie Beckendorf is Selena's boyfriend. And yeah, so they're setting him up. Or I want to say he does the chariot race in the second book. He's not in this show, but I think he will be eventually, maybe. I want him to be. But I feel like, so at the end of the episode, Percy because originally Clarice goes on the quest on her own. She doesn't take anybody with her. So she originally selects Annabeth and Chris. But I like the idea that, Annabeth bails to go with Percy. because, Tantalus tries to kill her. So I kind of hope she selects Selene to go with her. So it's Clarice, Selene, and Chris, and that kind of sets up their friendship earlier. It builds Selene more as a character. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I kind of hope it does. Because, yeah, Annabeth, Percy goes out to do the quest on his own. He asks his father for permission. His father doesn't reply, but Hermes does. And Hermes tells him that his father gives him permission. But Hermes has a personal request to save Luke. That, he doesn't give up on family. Luke may be working for Kronos. Percy may think he's beyond redemption. But don't give up on him so soon. Which I do like. I know Lin-Manuel Miranda, all roads lead to Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think listen, if they had made him Apollo, I might have had more of a problem. But the fact that he's Hermes, I think is actually more interesting. Like, making him Hermes adds a sort of depth to it. That, sure, will they actually utilize, what will happen in the 5th book? We'll see. But for the moment, I think I don't really have a problem with Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes. I thought he was fine in the first season. Hopefully he's fine in this one. The other thing is, based on the credits, I wonder if they're going to be setting up Artemis. So I'm pretty sure I have to restart this level to go get the Cloud Flower. I think you can only do this with the Cloud Flower. I tried with Yoshi. It doesn't look like it's going to work. So I think they might set up Artemis this season. Because if you watch the credits, at one point you see the stars in a bow. And Artemis doesn't show up until book 3. But I could see them sending up the Hunters of Artemis in this book. I like that you see Luke poisoning the tree in the show itself. It's not like a flashback. It's not a dream sequence. No, they walk up to Luke and he's there poisoning the tree. I like that. The chariot race is fun. It gets interrupted by the Stymphalian birds. That's fine. The Three Ladies Grey was also, it's like what I expected based on the book. Grover has the wedding dress. That's good. So far, based on just like the first 2 episodes, it definitely feels like this one's sticking a little closer to the book. But that's fine. I feel like the problem, the changes they got to make come later. Outside of, the one big change with Tyson, I feel like the changes you got to make are a little later on. We'll see what they do. But I'm excited to have Percy Jackson back. I really do like this show. We've been talking about like Hell of a Has Been Hotel so much that like for the past like 2 weeks we haven't had anything because I haven't been watching Fiona and Cake. I've heard shit about I don't know if the finale came out this week, but I've heard shit about Fiona and Cake, and I'm like, should I even watch this? Or does this kind of all fall apart in the 2nd season? Because it kind of sounds like it's all gonna fall apart in the 2nd season. And we're not talking about Pluribus, which I'm a week behind. But yeah. Anything else with Percy Jackson? I think it's good. I still enjoy it. I really hope they're like in production of the 3rd season right now. Like, I don't know if the show got greenlit for a 3rd season, but there was a recent interview with the brothers who work on Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers, where they were like, no, it's actually a good thing that we took 2 years between seasons to write the show. I disagree personally, and so do a lot of people, and streaming services have kind of, elongated TV in such a way that it's kind of hard to give a shit. So I really hope that Percy Jackson is already in production of the 3rd season. It took them like 2 years between this one and the last one. I hope it doesn't take another like 2 years between this and the next one. Because that's the one thing Harry Potter had going for it. Is they did all 7, 8 of those movies back to back. The kids didn't, they grew up faster than they do in the books, but not by much. If we're waiting 2 seasons between every Percy Jackson, 2 years, we're kind of fucked. Because, that's the Stranger Things kids. Like, Millie Bobby Brown is, you know, one of the kids in Stranger Things, and yet she has a child of her own. Like, fuck, man. Yeah, no, I'm worried. I'm worried that they're going to take too long. But I know the first season did really well. It's not the most streamed thing on Disney Plus. That's Moana. But I'm pretty sure it's the most streamed TV show on Disney Plus. So please keep making more of this. Get the third season up and running. Because the other thing that makes the show take forever is post-production. They spend like a year in post-production, which just takes forever. But like, I get it. I'm trying to figure out how to get up there with at least 2 clouds. Like, I know we definitely have to spend 1. But there's got to be a way we could at least have 2. Alright, I guess that, you know, I skipped over everything else. I guess that takes us to miscellaneous. Any other things that I've got? Okay. I'll say, with Claire Expedition 33 winning 9 awards at the Game Awards, I am really thinking about playing that game. I do actually own it. I bought a physical copy of... I bought a physical copy of Expedition 33. I just have to sit down and actually play it. But it's, you know, it's hard for me to play an RPG. Sure, I've heard it's only actually like 30 hours, which in theory sounds nice, but I have to actually sit down and play it. But there's 2... Okay, so we have this show this week. Okay, this was episode 50. Next week is 51. Week after that is the end of the year stuff. If I were to play Expedition 33, I would have 2 weeks to do it, because I will have to have hopefully beaten that game by whatever that Friday is. I could also push the show for... I basically have to beat the game by the 26th. That is possible, but I also haven't played Hades 2 either. That's the other one, is I haven't played Hades 2. So, like, fuck. And I could potentially do both, but something's gonna fall by the wayside. So there we go. There's all the main worlds, and now we just have World 7, or World S, which we'll do next time. And the final challenge, or whatever it's called. Yeah, I guess that takes us to our outro. So we'll be back next week. We're gonna finish Galaxy 2, and then it's just Game of the Year. We're due 2025 in review, Game of the Year, and then 2026 predictions. I've already started writing it. I've got the 2025 in review mostly done. I've got the predictions done. Now I just got to finish writing Game of the Year. Which, again, if I add Expedition 33 or something else, because there are other things, we'll just have to wait and see. But that's where we're going to end off for tonight. So I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time, peace.